Real quick before we get started, I forgot to mention, the Southern Baptist Convention is actually the second largest relief organization in our country. And so they have an army of workers that are going to be going into the Carolinas once the flooding resides and helping people basically strip their houses down to the studs. And you can actually help with that if you're interested. So there's an emergency training this Saturday. It's all day Saturday at Mount Carmel Baptist Church. And it's $25, but Bridgeway will pay the fee for you if you're interested. So after our worship time here, if you're interested in getting some training and maybe even going and spending a week down in the Carolinas, you're going to be working, from sun up to sundown, and you'll be very, very busy. And there's different things you can do. You can strip houses down. You can do meals. They have a team that ministers to people because obviously it's a very emotional experience. So if you're interested, let me know after this service, and we'll take care of that for you the best that we can. So we are in part 2 of our series, Your Story. and last week we decided to start something, to start a habit of some sort, some discipline that we wanted to start. So how's it going so far? I hope you all decided something to start. I decided to start journaling and sticking with it, because the decisions we make today determine the story we tell tomorrow. And remember, we want God to be all over this story of ours, because we looked at it like each of us, we have our own book, and what if someone opened the book that is our life years after we're gone? What would that look like? So we decided we needed to maybe start something. Physically, we needed to start something, or maybe spiritually, or I don't know exactly for you, but I was interesting because I had started journaling a long time ago. I just wasn't very consistent. In fact, about 9 years ago. And so it was funny because I actually got to use one of my journal entries from 2 years ago to minister to someone who was going through some similar things that I was going through 2 years ago. And I had written some of those things down. And so when this person called me and said, "Hey, man, I need to talk, and this is what's going on," I'm like, "Cool, let's sit down." And I just got my journal out. I said, "I'm going to read to you what I wrote 2 years ago." And it was like spot on for this guy. And so God was using something that I wrote down 2 years ago. And so that encouraged me to continue to write. And sometimes it's just, went to work today, had dinner, the end, Sometimes it's not much to write about, and that's all right. No news can be good news. But for me, what the main goal is in starting this is when I'm gone, and like my great-grandkids are, my age, it's not like they can have a conversation with me, right? And so I just thought, man, it'd be really cool if they could just get a peek into what I was thinking in 2018 when it's like 2070 something, I could possibly still be alive then. I don't know. We'll see. But when I'm gone, I want them to be able to peek into my mind a little bit. I think Brandon, I forgot to ask him between services, I think he has a journal from his grandfather, from like his great-grandfather or something. He was telling me about it this week. I don't know. Amber, do you know? You don't know either? Okay, it's somebody's journal that's long gone. So that's one of the reasons I did. I hope you pick something to start, whether it's great-grandfather. Spain, okay, you read about the Spanish-American War. He just pops in right when I need him. There you go. That's pretty cool stuff. So I hope you pick something to start, whether it's maybe taking care of your body, or something spiritually and praying or reading God's word, or maybe something in relationships. You're not going to regret it, right? Because the goal with starting something was, years down the road, we can look back and say, man, I'm really glad I started to do this. Today we're going to talk about deciding to stop something. And my main point today would be direction, not intention, determines your destination. Direction, not your intentions, determine your destination. What do I mean by that? Well, intentions are, for the most part, useless unless you act on them, right? The old saying is, good intentions are the same as no intentions unless you get intentional about your intentions. Right. So direction. What direction is your life headed in right now? I want you to think about that. Like, if you could, we know what story we want God to tell about our life. And you got intentions maybe to change things, but let's say nothing changes right now in the direction your life is headed. And just because you're sitting here at church doesn't mean your life is headed towards a good direction, right? I mean, it's here. But there may be some things that you're doing that you know you need to stop, and you're not stopping. So let's think about the direction you're headed. If you could fast forward, how will your story end? And I can tell you as a pastor, I've sat with many people who have said to me, Brent, if I could go back, I would change this, or I wouldn't have done this. I mean, you can fill in the blank because of regrets that they have. So what is the direction of your life currently? What do you need to stop? Because what we want to do is we want to look down, look past our life and say, I'm glad I stopped doing it. Because the alternative is us saying, man, I really regret this. I really wish I would have stopped doing that, or not said that, or whatever it is. We want to have a story that's worth telling. And remember, what's the best way for our story to be told? Well, we find it in Hebrews 12. Take a look. Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. We look unto Jesus. That's how we best tell the story of our life. We get the pen that's in our hands, we give it to him. Remember, when we look back, at least me speaking personally, I look back on dumb decisions that I've made and in seasons of life. Sometimes circumstances are outside of us, but sometimes we create the storm, right? And I've noticed when looking back, when things are in my handwriting, it's kind of crazy. When things are in God's handwriting, it doesn't mean everything's always calm, but there's a level of trust there, and there's a level of peace there. Even though things might be difficult, there's a level of peace among the storm because Jesus is writing the story and not so much myself. So I think we have a lot of times we have a difficulty giving God the pen because we think we either know better or we don't trust him like we should. So with that being said, we're going to look at a guy today who decided to stop doing something, and it was very beneficial for him. And this guy is Moses. And Moses, his issue, and we're going to have a myriad of issues in this room, but Moses' issue was he was exhausting himself. At least in our American train of thought, being busy all the time is almost to some like a good thing. Like, yeah, I work this, and then I volunteer for that, and I'm doing this, I'm doing 20 million different things. Exhausting yourself is not a good thing. God designed our bodies to rest, right? He even set a day aside. The Sabbath wasn't created for God, it was created for us to rest, to enjoy his creation. So Moses was exhausting himself. He was taking on every problem that every person had from sun up to sundown. If there was a dispute, let's say me and Jim got into it, and we needed someone to mediate our quarrel here, we would go to Moses, Jim, and we'd get that figured out. And I'd probably realize you were right all along, or something along those lines. But so Moses is the judge and the jury for all these situations, and he's overwhelmed and he's exhausted. But that's what he's supposed to be doing, he thinks. And that's some of you, and I get it, being overwhelmed. Some of you are overwhelmed just because of your circumstance that you can't necessarily change at this point. But we can ask God to give us some guidance on how to handle some of those things. Maybe you're a single parent and you feel overwhelmed, or maybe your job is draining the life out of you, and you just feel like I can't get everything done that I need to get done in this period of time. Maybe you're a full-time student and you're working on the side and you've got this and you've got that. I think we can relate to being overwhelmed or being exhausted. Moses felt, he needed to take on all of these problems, and the reality for Moses was he didn't need to do all that he was doing. So if you're exhausted today and you're overwhelmed, it's quite possible that you don't need to be doing all that you need to be doing. And Moses could probably try to justify his schedule. Like, well, I can't trust this person to do this. I've got to do it myself. So maybe if it's exhaustion that is your big issue, you need to be praying, God, what can I release? What can I give up? So what happens here in Exodus 18 and verse 17, it says, so Moses, his father-in-law, said to him, the thing that you do is not. You need someone in your life that can tell you that. And you can take it. Because nobody likes someone going and saying, hey, what you're doing is wrong. The first thing we do is we get our guard up and we're like, who do you think you are? Right? Or we get angry because there's pride in the way. Like, how dare you say that to me? But listen, you need someone in your life that you know loves you, that you know has the best intention for you, and cares for you. They can come to you and say, you need to stop what you're doing. Moses had that person, his father-in-law. Hey, what you're doing is not good. There's something in your life that is not good for the story of your life, and you need to stop it. You know what it is. You need to stop it. You're going to have to fill in that blank today. What you're doing isn't good. Maybe you've got a habit that you need to take care of, to bury. Maybe it's a mindset, an addiction, an attitude, a thought process. There's something you're doing and it's not good, and you know it. You need to stop it. So look what happens, verse 18. Both you and these people who are with you will surely wear yourselves out. You're going to wear yourself out, Moses. No, what Moses is doing is good, but he was doing too much of it. Busy. And that can happen in different areas of life. It can even happen in church life. I mean, I remember working when I was a teenager. I'd work at church bus, so my Sundays started about 7 o'clock, and then I'd work my church bus, go to Sunday school, go to church, then I'd finish my church bus route, get done about 2 o'clock, and then I get home for a little bit. Then after I'm home for a little bit, I've got choir practice, then I got Sunday night church, and then after Sunday night church, I had a class that I would take, and that was my Sunday. And I think maybe because I was younger and energetic that I could maybe do that, but it wasn't a good. It's exhausting. And the old saying is, well, I'd rather burn out than sit out. I think both of those options are horrible. I do. Sitting out, that's horrible. Burning out, that's horrible. I just want to continue to burn for the glory of God. And so sometimes you need to say no to even good things. Like at Bridgeway, you shouldn't be doing more than 2 things. You should at least be doing one thing, serving in some capacity. And if you're doing more than 2 things, we need to talk, right? I don't want you to burn out. We do want you, part of our mission here is to serve like Jesus, to serve within the church and to serve those without Christ. So in the church, yeah, you should be serving. If this is your faith family, you should be plugged in, serving in some capacity. And that's why I guess I should plug the whole service thing again for this fall. But seriously, find something to do. But don't do too much. You burn yourself out, then you won't be doing anything. How many of you know somebody who burnt themselves out in church and now they do nothing? Anybody? I do. Right. Let's try to have a proper balance here. Moses was exhausting himself. He's doing good stuff. But he needed that person to say, what you're doing is not good. And now listen, if you don't have someone like that in your life, join a small group and you might meet that person. I'm plugging that again. If you haven't signed up yet, I'm coming for you. I'm going to call you. And I'm not going to ask a yes or no question like, hey, do you want to do small groups? I'm giving my strategy away. I'm just going to say, hey, which small group do you want to try out? You got 5 to choose from. So, and give it a test drive. Try it for 4 weeks, and then I won't bother you after that. If you just say, hey, I tried it, okay, let's just start there. But there might be a person in there that could be someone for you, could be a Paul to you, could invest in your life. But you won't know it unless you get plugged in. So, verse 18, hey, you're going to wear yourself out, for this thing is too much for you. You're not able to perform it by yourself. Listen now to my voice. I will give you counsel, and God will be with you. Stand before God for the people so that you may bring the difficulties to God and you shall teach them the statutes and the laws, and show them the way in which they must walk, and the work they must do. Moreover, when you shall select from the people able men, you shall select from the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, rulers of tens, and let them judge the people at all times. Then it will be that every great matter they shall bring to you, but every small matter they shall judge, that they themselves shall judge. So it will be easier for you, for they will bear the burden with you. If you do this thing, and God so commands you, then you'll be able to endure, and all people will also go to their place in peace. So he's like, Moses, get some people to help you. These are over thousands, these are over hundreds, these are over 50s. Spread it out a little bit. And when there's a big matter, they'll come to you. When there's not, they'll handle it. Moses listens and saves himself from having a nervous breakdown, because you can only do so much for so long. And that's what Moses does. He decides to listen to the advice of his father-in-law and delegate things. He decided to stop taking on so much. So last week we talked about picking one thing that you need to start, and so today I want you to pick one thing that you need to stop. Something you need to commit to God to stop and to help you with your story. Just one thing. And there are a couple reasons why you need to do this. One reason you need to stop whatever it is you don't know, if you stop blank, you don't know, if you don't stop, rather, if you don't stop blank, you don't know the blessings that you're missing out on. What do I mean by that? It'd be nice to say, listen, years ago I stopped doing this and my relationship with my spouse got better. Or, hey, years ago I stopped doing this and I don't feel overwhelmed like I used to. Or years ago I stopped doing that and I've been at peace in those situations ever since. Or, hey, I stopped doing that and I don't have to look over my shoulder and be afraid of getting caught because I've just stopped it altogether. You don't know what blessings you're missing out on. Those are blessings in and of themselves. The other side of that is another reason to stop whatever it is you have no idea what the consequences will be. You have no idea how much whatever that is might cost you. The old saying is that sin takes you farther than you want to go and it keeps you longer than you want to stay. Again, if Moses had stayed on the track he would have had probably a nervous breakdown. I mean, you take on people's problems every single day from sun up to sundown. At some point you're going to crack, right? Had Moses not stopped taking on so much, he would have fallen apart. So think about what do you need to stop? What if you don't stop? Play it forward. Play it forward. What if you don't stop doing it? What are the potential downfalls? What are the potential consequences? Maybe it's a physical thing. You need to take care of your body. If you don't take care of your body, you're going to be dealing with some health issues down the road. Maybe not be able to play with your kids or your grandkids. Maybe it's some of your habits that you have, drinking or otherwise, or your spending habits. You're spending more than that's coming in. You're going to get up to debt in your eyeballs and not be able to take care of things you should be taking care of. You can go down the list. I mean, what do you want your story to look like? Like maybe you can't think of anything. Okay, let's go about it this way. Maybe God's convicted you lately that you need to focus more on your family, or you need to grow spiritually, or you need to get your finances taken care of, or maybe it's your health and you need to take care of that. If he's convicted you of some of those things or something I didn't say, in light of that, in light of him saying, hey, you need to take care of your body, or hey, you need to invest in your family, in light of that, what do you need to stop that will help you do those things? What does God want you to stop? What decision do you need to make today that will help you tell the right story tomorrow? So my thing I started was journaling. The thing I need to stop, I spend way too much time on my phone. Guilty. Like, it's been pointed out to me before, by my lovely wife. You need that. She's told me what you're doing is not good, and I wasn't Moses. But the Lord brought some things to my attention recently about this. One was my kids were driving me nuts. Your kids ever do that? No, my kids are perfect. Get out. No. In fact, okay, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. Both my kids got spankings here at church before church started, before any of you were here. Honey, you didn't know that? So I decided, me and Whitney talked, she's like, hey, can you start taking the kids with you in the morning? It's much easier because she's got baby boy. I'm like, yeah, sure. I even got them donuts this morning. I'm like, you guys were so easy to wake up today. I got them donuts and chocolate milk and juice, and we get to the church, and all hell breaks loose once I get to church, right? And see, I never really experienced this because I'm always here and they're always with her, right? And so I'm busy getting stuff done, and they're kind of pushing me to the edge, where it's like you just can't. You're like, oh, I'm gonna, and then I fell over the edge. And fortunately, we have lots of spanking spoons here at Bridgeway, and I put one to use on both of them. But they're doing good now, I think. They're upstairs with Jackie, so we'll see how it pans out. But but one day I'm with my kids at the house, and they're kind of getting a little rambunctious here. I'm like, you know what, guys, enough screen time. Go play in the playroom or go outside. Just go do one of those two things. Get some Legos out or get the Barbies out or whatever you want to do, but no screen time. And so they go and they're doing their whole thing. I'm like, all right, I got 5 minutes. So what do? I sit down and get some screen time. And like they're seeing me do this, because more is caught than taught. And so I'm like, what are you doing, man? Like, do I want my kids to be overly dependent on a little block, And so the Lord's really been convicting me about how I spend time on my phone. In fact, the other day, I was grabbing my iPad. Rhett and I were awake. I don't think anybody else was awake because it was just me and him. And I said, hey, buddy, I'm going on the porch. I'm going to read a book. And I have my iPad, and he's kind of looking at me weird. I'm like, okay, I want to show you. This is a book, all right? I have my Kindle app up, and I'm like, Daddy is reading. I'm not playing a game. I'm not watching YouTube. I'm reading a book on the porch, okay? And so I go on the porch, drinking my coffee, reading a good book, and Rhett comes out with his book. I didn't ask him to. He just got his big picture Bible and wanted to sit there and just look at pictures. Well, the sun's coming up, and I thought, okay, Lord, you're teaching me some things. I wonder if I am on something, I'm going to let my kids know Dad's just not sitting here watching YouTube. And then if I'm not doing something productive at the time, it's not like I'm never going to look at my phone again. It's what kind of impact do I want to make on my kids? I don't want to be addicted to a device. Like, it gets so bad, like the last thing I would do sometimes at night, I would check my Facebook, and the first thing I would do when I woke up? Yeah, like what the heck happens in the middle of the night that I'm sleeping that I need to wake up in the morning and check what my Facebook is? Like, oh, great, you guys went to dinner last night. Oh, so the Lord's really been heavy on me about that. That might not be you. He might be convicting you about other things, maybe movies that you're watching that that you're allowing things in the gates of your mind that you shouldn't let in your mind, or maybe you're harboring resentment. Maybe there is some forgiveness that you need to have, and you need to stop resenting somebody. Or maybe it's a grudge. Maybe you're just an overly critical person. Maybe you're like, Brent, I don't like the way you're dressed today. I don't like the jeans of the preacher. I didn't like the music. I didn't like how people greeted me when I came in. I don't like the chairs. They're not comfortable enough. Well, you know what? We didn't come here to worship you. We came to worship God, so suck it up, buttercup, right? Stop being overly critical. Seriously. That is like that. You're just gnawing away at your soul, just nitpicking everything and everybody. First of all, you're not God, so you want someone to nitpick everything about you? You're not perfect. So give that over to God. Stop being overly critical. What is it that you need to stop so that God can tell a better story than what your story is right now? You know what it is. It's already popped in your brain. Like, yeah, Brent, but I've tried to stop that before. And I've failed over and over and over again. Well, let me give you a couple scriptures to help you out. Go back to Hebrews chapter 12. We've been reading verse 2, but let's back up to verse 1. Therefore, we also, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily ensnares us. And let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. So let's focus on verse 1 here. He says, hey, lay aside every weight and the sin which easily ensnares you. You know what easily ensnares you. It looks attractive. It seems beneficial. Sin always looks that way, right? It's like the mouse trap. Why is the mouse going over? Because there's something that has caught his attention that he really wants. Only once he gets it, the hammer falls down, and life as he knows it is over. Well, for us, there is a sin that easily gets you off track. We're supposed to be running this race of faith, and you know what it is. It easily besets you. Like it's almost like it's your vice. You know what it is. And so we're told here to lay it aside. But how do I lay it aside? It's easy for you to say. No, you lay it aside by verse 2, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of your faith. When I'm talking about looking unto Jesus, I'm not talking about behavior modification, like, well, if I just stop acting. No, I'm talking about spiritual transformation, allowing Jesus to paint the picture of your life, allowing him to write the story, and get the pen out of your hand and put it back into his. That's what I'm talking about. Lay it aside. Give it to him. Fix your eyes on Jesus. Brent, I've tried this, and I can't. You and I don't get to say that. We don't. The same Spirit that rose Jesus from the dead resides in us. We are told in Scripture that we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. So we don't get to say that. I could never do that. I've tried and I've failed. I've tried and I've failed. Keep trying. Do you think I wrote in my journal every single day? I do some backtracking. What we're looking for is progress, right? You're not going to be perfect this side of heaven. Look for some progress. Be further along than you were the day before. Make some progress. Because you think, well, I need to do this, and if I just can't do it, I'm just going to give it up altogether. Keep trying. You know what's going to help you? Whatever you decide that you need to stop, you need to tell someone what that is. You need to have someone that can hold you accountable. Like, I don't have anybody to do that for me, Brent. Join a small group. Seriously. Or I'll be that person for you. I'm your pastor. I can handle it. Whatever you need to tell me. And first of all, I want you to know, if you do tell me something, it's not like I go over to Jim. I'm picking on you today, Jim. I don't know why. You're right behind the camera. It's not like I go to Jim and like, hey, Jim, I got a prayer request. Did you know Rebecca? She's doing all this stuff, and she really needs prayer. You guys ever dealt with that before, where the prayer line is actually more like, let me tell you all the trash on this person. One, we kill gossip. We won't kill you if you gossip, but we'll kill the gossip, right? But two, if you tell me something, in all seriousness, it doesn't go anywhere but me and you. So if you say, Brent, this is something I really need to stop, and I need you to check on me occasionally, I will do that for you if you don't have that person. Ladies, if it's too personal for you, Whitney will do that for you. If you don't want to tell a guy that. So in all seriousness, tell someone what it is you want to stop. It's going to help you. Because then some permission to hold your feet to the fire a little bit, and we all need that. So what is it today? Moses, his problem, he was taking too much on, and he needed to stop it. We all want a great story, right? We want, when the book is closed on our life here, we want to leave a great story for those who may read it later, for the glory of Christ. So what do you need to stop? Let's think about it. Let's bow together this morning, and let's talk.